It's pimp juice.
Welcome to the Front Porch with Brian Beaudry.
All right, I'd like to welcome today's guest, one of our Tier 2 software support technicians, Steve Goff. Steve, welcome to the Front Porch.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, let's go ahead and start with the basics. Who are you? Where are you from? And in your opinion, what is the most fun card game?
My name is Steve Goff. I'm from Louisiana originally, born in New Orleans, raised around the Baton Rouge area. Most fun card game is Texas No Limit Hold'em.
Okay, is that just for the gambling aspect of it, or is it just a fun card game for you?
I would say it's more for the competitive aspect.
Okay.
And what most people don't know is there's a lot of math involved and calculations that you're doing in your head. But there's also a lot of intuition involved.
Yeah.
So it's a very intuitive game too. And I've just always had fun doing it. I don't gamble.
Okay.
But I do. There's free tournaments around Dallas, and you do win cash prizes. So I find that very fun.
It's much more fun when you're not losing money and when you can still win money.
Yeah. Well, if I was going to play a tournament, I'd probably go for a more small stakes one where maybe you pay like $60 to get in.
Yeah.
And then you know what you're losing, and it's more like an event or something like that. But I haven't done that yet. Maybe one day.
Does it ever bug you that there's a Texas Hold'em, but there's no Louisiana Hold'em? Or is there a Louisiana Hold'em?
Yes, but you have to go way back into the bayou to play that, and I don't know if that's advisable.
Okay. Do you know the rules for Louisiana Hold'em? Or are there no rules?
Yes, you have to have a $5,000 buy-in.
Okay, that's too rich for my blood. I'll avoid it. All right. What did you want to be when you were a kid, whenever you first remember having an answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I couldn't remember, but I asked my mom, and she said that I wanted to be a doctor or a dump truck driver.
That is an interesting combo. I wish that you had achieved both of them at the same time.
Apparently, there's at least a wide range for me to pick a career, right? So there may have been something to that.
Okay.
Because I never really knew what I wanted to.
I was going to say, how close did you get to either of those?
Not very close.
Okay, so it's just one of those.
Well, the dump truck driver could still be on the table.
Okay.
It is sort of a fantasy of mine.
You could also still be a doctor, but like more on the unlicensed doctor, probably.
Honorary doctor. How about that?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
PhD, right. Honorary PhD.
Ooh, what if you were so good at dump truck driving
that I got a PhD?
Yeah.
You go teach it at the university.
That would be impressive. Okay, so at what point are you deciding what do kids know anyway, and you decide to go a different route?
Well, that's an interesting question because I never really had I never really knew what I wanted to do when I was younger, and I always found it fascinating that people just knew what they wanted to do from a young age and actually put the plan into effect and followed through it, as in getting good grades in high school, getting into the good university. Pursuing a dream that they knew they wanted to do from a very early age. With so many choices out there for what you want to do for the rest of your life, to me, how do you pick something like that?
Yeah, I always read those stories from like famous people. And it's like, I knew from childhood, and it's like, am I broken? Did I not get that?
Well, I guess if you're some kind of a prodigy or something, or if you've got a natural ability and you excel at it, obviously, that's probably what you should be doing, as long as you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one place where education kind of falls short. Rather than determining what people's natural talents are, we want to kind of just take these standardized tests. And I don't know. I just think maybe there's a better way to go about doing things. We should all. I mean, if you've got a natural talent and you develop it, that's where fame and wealth and all that type of stuff comes from.
That's true, unless your talent is not very useful. Like, I can crack my elbow a lot. I'm really good at it.
Well, you can, I
guess you can make some YouTube videos now or something. People might be into that.
You can still you can be content with your natural talent, even if it's not bringing you fame and all that stuff.
All right. So, obviously, if you don't have necessarily like that thing that you know that you're going to go into, what are you doing out of school?
What am I doing out of school?
Yeah, once you get done with school, or What's your first job, basically?
My first job was while I was in school.
Okay.
And it was a friend of our family, but I was doing landscaping
Okay.
at like age 16. So
Fun.
in the hot Louisiana sun, I was pushing a lawnmower and carrying a weed eater and doing all that stuff. And I did that until I was about 21.
Okay, so that's, I mean, 5 years, you couldn't have hated it completely.
What's that?
You couldn't have hated the whole thing completely if you did it for 5 whole years.
It was okay. I liked the people I worked with. I worked with a bunch of LSU rugby players.
Interesting.
So that is a wild bunch right there. Let me tell you something.
That seems like a dangerous position for someone between 16 and 21.
Yeah, but they were good guys. You know, a lot of them were in school. A lot of them were going to LSU and stuff. And they did like to drink beer out of their rugby boots, which I thought was personally kind of weird. But to each their own, I guess.
You're accustomed to weirdness, and you're not going to judge people for,
of course not,
gross things like drinking out of shoes.
Yeah, I didn't do it, but I prefer my beer in a mug. But
yeah, that's a more traditional way of going.
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you do after landscaping, or did you ever like hold another job while you were doing the landscaping?
Yes, I usually did multiple things. So I moved from landscaping and went into retail. I worked for JCPenney for several years. And I did construction part-time with another friend of the family who had his little construction business. And for a while, I went and got my real estate license, and I dabbled into real estate.
Yeah.
And I really didn't really succeed at that. But I was a realtor.
Well, when you're just dabbling, then.
Yeah, when you're just dabbling. That's why I use that word.
All right. So, I mean, why do you think these are pretty different type things? Is this a thing where it's like you just need the extra money? Is it things where you're just trying to find like the thing that is like, hey, this is what I like doing?
I think I was just trying to find my way in life, and I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I had to pay rent and do stuff like that. So that entails working a couple of jobs if you're not working high paying jobs.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of what my early to mid 20s were like.
Your landlords do tend to like it when you pay the rent.
I like it when you give them the envelope.
Yep.
I don't think we give them an envelope anymore, but
yeah, I don't know. I hope to not find out.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind being a landlord one day.
Okay.
The guy I rented from in Dallas had a nice little place with 14 rooms and 5 commercial units underneath it, and he lived in one of the units, and he just kind of like a retirement gig for him. I think he sold insurance, and then he went and did the landlord thing.
All right. Well, if you're
passive
a landlord,
sort of income.
If you're a landlord, are you taking envelope payments, or are you gonna set up electronic payments?
You can give me the money in whatever way you want to give it to me.
All right.
I don't take Bitcoin though. So
okay.
Sorry.
Not yet though, but by the time you have, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So based on my interneting, I've seen lots of stories from serving a lot of customers, from doing a lot of these types of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any wild customer experience stories from those days?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got quite a few.
Can you share a couple of them? Let's just go with a couple now, unless you're going to plan on giving us like those as your top 5 for give me 5 later.
Well, I guess the thing that stands out the most is the thing that stands out the most is when I was a parking manager.
Okay.
We got a bomb threat.
Okay.
Over at Thanksgiving Tower.
That'll stand out.
And we never, so the streets got shut off. The police are out. The firemen were out. I'm assuming Department of Homeland Security, FBI was there at one point, right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I was hearing, and we never went through this. We never went through, what do you do if a bomb threat happens? We did tornadoes. We did earthquakes, but no bomb threat. So anyway, I just was able to call security real quick and say, hey, what do I need to do? You need to get out, but you need to go this way. So, and I went out, and on the way out, can I lift the gates? Yes, you can lift the gates. I lifted the parking gates. Some people were able to drive out, before the.
Yeah.
But anyway, it ended up not panning out. I think it was like a disgruntled employee or something, and I caught him and arrested him. It's crazy kind of type of thing, right? But it was interesting.
Wait, when you get the bomb threat, they're not saying like it's a car bomb or anything. It's
they didn't say what it was initially. It was some kind, I can't remember 100%, but some kind of notification came out that said everyone needs to evacuate the building right now. It was something like that.
Okay.
But of course, I had a direct line to security.
Yeah.
Because the parking team worked very closely with security, and we had a tenuous relationship with them. Right? So, but we had a pretty good relationship with them. But they let me know what was going on. So it would have been nice to have had training for that particular scenario, though.
That's true. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like when you're in the training, you're like, this is ridiculous. And then you actually have that. It's like, we should have had training.
Of course, in the working in the hotel, I'd encounter all kind of stuff. People getting drunk and people having to kick people out of the hotel and all type of stuff. Having to call the cops on occasion. I got to know the cops very well, and I knew them. And they'd stop by and they'd shoot the breeze with me at night, and and stuff like that. So,
all right, what gets you kicked out of a hotel? I've never been, so
getting extremely drunk and making noise.
I've been extremely drunk before at a hotel, but apparently the noise is a key factor.
Yeah, and well, when I go to the swimming pool and say sorry, you've got to come in. It's like 1 a.m. and you're making a lot of noise. When the old man pulls a knife on me,
yeah, that's
that only doesn't get you kicked out of the hotel. That gets you a ride in the cop car.
I was gonna say that's when Steve's calling his cops.
That's when the cops came over very quick, and arrested the guy. So,
okay, so the hotel that you're working at, is that in Louisiana or
it's in Louisiana?
Okay,
yeah. It was a family owned. It was this family that owned it was like their 25th hotel or something like that, and I worked for 3 of their hotels. I'm sorry, 2 of their hotels.
Okay.
So I started at the Days Inn, and I moved to the Hampton, and I did that thing. And I did the night auditor / manager on duty, which was really just kind of like a title.
Which is just like, hey, when there's some people you got to kick out.
Well, when nobody's here, this guy kind of functions as the manager. But really, he's just sitting down studying it for most of the night, right?
Yeah.
So
you generally hope that it's not going to be super busy at night at a
and it usually isn't, unless you have a big unless Pointer Rental comes into town, right? And for the spring bash, and sometimes you get a big group of people come in, it's interesting. You see a lot of stuff. I will say this: I saw less of those incidents, like crazy type of incidents where I had to kick people out, when I was at the Hampton Inn, because Hampton Inn is, they got like a repeat customers that come and they get their points and stuff like that, and the rewards and all that stuff. You had to put the little brown bag lunch out for them and all that stuff, So
okay,
and I got a free breakfast every morning.
Well, that's always a nice little perk. Yeah.
That was the perk of working there. So anyway,
all right. So is that all? The parking job, though, I remember that one was in Dallas-Fort Worth, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
you scared me for a second there.
That was Thanksgiving Tower. So if you see the big kind of square rectangular building that goes up, and it's got the line across the top of it.
Okay.
I was underneath that building. So my office was underneath the building, way down on the first level of the garage, in the basement, underneath the bomb shelter and all that stuff. It was way down there.
Okay. Bomb threat underneath the bomb shelter.
Yeah, there you go. It was the bunker.
Yeah. Okay, so what caused you to go from Louisiana? You're doing you've done various jobs, and then you just come to Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Well, I'm a non-traditional. We talked about me kind of just floating around doing different jobs and stuff like that. So at some point I realized, well, I don't want to do manual labor anymore. And maybe I should have thought this through a little more when I was younger. And thought about what I wanted to do and applied myself a little better. So I ended up going back to school as a non-traditional student, and I ended up earning a degree. I think I was like maybe 32 when I got my degree.
Okay.
When I finally finished my studies.
I was going to say, I can relate. My college graduation date does not really align in that whole 4 years after my high school graduation.
So yours is the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't feel so bad now.
I got out, I dropped out of community college, and then went to the military, realized, this is not fun.
Yeah. all this running.
I should get back into school.
Taking orders. And,
Yeah, it's like I'll do the school thing now.
I went to I actually went to a community college and got an associate's degree because once again I'm a non-traditional student.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it before that I actually got a GED when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a lot of direction. I didn't care for high school. I didn't care for standard organized education, and I still don't. It's really not my favorite thing in the world, but it's something that it's important, and it is something that opened some doors for me because, and I had to take remedial courses too, right? Because I had to be able to do the maths and stuff like that. But once an interesting note, when I did finally go to college, I did 80 hours in 2 years.
That's a strong hustle.
And I made the dean's list multiple times in that period.
Nice.
Yeah. I had like I think a 3.5 during that period.
Nice.
And but that kind of balanced out the abysmal GPA of my first semester that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah. I also did I'm just going to leave. I don't have to actually withdraw from my classes. Just taking a bunch of zeros. It's like, okay. Later on, it's like,
we have some
that caught up.
We have some overlap in our educational. So I got the degree, and I was applying because I wanted to stay in Louisiana around my family, right?
Yeah.
But it would just so happen that. So I ended up after a year of not being able to get a job after graduating, I just broadened my search. And Dallas was and I was looking for hospitality jobs because I had hotel experience.
Yeah.
Now I was actually looking for a hotel manager job. Is what I was really looking for. So, because I would have been a perfect candidate for that. Had a bit like a business degree, a supply chain management degree, but and I had hotel experience. Was a manager on duty, right?
Yeah.
So, but I stumbled across a software company that you needed a 4-year degree, and you needed. I can't remember if it was a hard qualification, like you needed the experience, or it may have been a bonus, right? If you had experience in the hospitality or hotel industry. So that opened the door for me to go move to Dallas. And when when I did the interview and they hired me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I packed my bags, moved to Dallas, and went from my town of, I think it might have been about 6,000 at that time, to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And kind of went through that maze. So
I was going to say, that seems like a wild culture change and just fish out of water type thing.
Culture shock. Well, the first day I went into downtown Dallas, I went and I forgot why I was there. I parked my car, and I forgot to take note of where I parked it. And I could not find my car, man. I drove around in the cab. We could never find it. And I paid the cab, it ended up costing me $80 was my fare. And then I went home, and at 2 a.m, the police called me. Hey, we found your car, man. Oh, thank you. So, I went and picked my car up the next day. And the city was just so intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Because just being in that city, when I was walking in the city, I was just so intimidated by the buildings and everything. But I ended up moving right on the outskirts of the city, and I would just ride. I ended up where I was riding my bicycle through the city. I wasn't intimidated at it at all, So it just became a common thing.
And you didn't lose you never lost your bike in the city, right?
No, I had a lock. I locked it down, man. Yeah. Whenever you could lose your bike in the city. Yeah. Definitely. I had a pretty nice bike too, so.
I would hope so if you're riding all the way from outside into inside the city.
Yeah. Well, I was right there. I lived I was on South Side.
Oh. Okay.
Or by South Side on Lamar, in that area.
Okay. Cool.
The old Piggly Wiggly building, to be specific. So. If any of y'all drive past that, that's where I used
coming from the West Coast, just the fact that there's something named the Piggly Wiggly just it makes me laugh. It's just
there's no Piggly Wigglies there.
No,
I didn't know that.
It's such a Southern name. It's
yeah, you're right.
It sounds so ridiculous.
So what? It's just commonplace here, man. Everybody knows what Piggly Wiggly is. Yeah. So what would the name be over on the West Coast?
I don't even know, but I actually know Piggly Wiggly was the actual name of a store. It's that is the name. It's wild.
And it's got a mascot too. It's this pig,
I was gonna say it's as you would expect from something called Piggly Wiggly.
The funniest thing about that building is when you go on, because it's a historical building, right? It's a legit historical building. It's 100 years old, but when you go on the back, you can see the old lettering from who knows how far back that says danger, poison. And that's always comforting when you're walking to your room and you read that. But
All right, so you get to Dallas Fort Worth, and I
Yeah.
know that you said you found like a software company.
Yeah.
And then you were also working parking, or
No. I was working that before I worked parking. I
Okay,
worked that
so-
job for about a year and a half.
okay, and then how'd you get into parking? Did you just have a secret passion for parking?
Yeah, I had a passion for that from when I was very young. Parking garages just fascinated
It was
me,
actually
man, 'cause
doctor, dump truck driver, or parking.
our parking garage.
Yeah.
So the company I worked for, it was a small family company, kind of like this one. It
Yeah.
was eventually bought out by an investment firm.
Okay.
And the investment firm took the company and bought a bunch of other companies and combined them all together. And then they laid off about 60 people.
And one of those is you.
And I was one of the people who went bye-bye. But, what I found fascinating was they laid off all the developers, all the people who built the product, all the people who had real years and years and years of knowledge supporting it. And I was just thinking to myself, how are they going to support this product?
Yeah. It's like,
But I guess they could hire and train people, but losing all that knowledge, I mean, man, that's like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it, and it's kind of a slap in the face to the people who work there. It put
Yeah.
20, 30 years into the company just to be let go like that. But I mean, hey, that's what happens, man. Companies
Yeah.
get bought out, acquisitions happen, and things of that nature, So,
yeah, well, at least you didn't sink 20 years into it. You were just there. So, well, I guess, let's say you go from there, you go to parking.
correct.
Why do you find point of rental appealing, especially having gone through that experience with the software company?
Well, I ended up in a tier 2 position at that other company.
Mhm.
So, why do I find point of rental appealing when comparing it to the other one? Was that the question? Sorry.
Yeah, basically, it's like, okay, you had this experience at a software company, you got moved up, but I mean,
Oh,
you
well,
went through the whole layoff process.
I was just more confident when I came into point of rental. I was just more confident in stepping into the role and doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was still a little intimidated, but I brought some skills from that other job with me.
Yeah.
I know how to take a call from a customer. I know how to take an email. I know how to troubleshoot a case. I know the soft skills that go into handling a customer support type of scenario. You don't lose those skills, right?
Yeah.
So I had an advantage. It gave me an advantage. So naturally, if I ever leave point of rental, not saying that I am,
Yeah.
but I'll have an advantage to the next company that I go to from everything that I've picked up here, because this software company, I just learned a lot more here.
Yeah.
There's a lot more things to learn here than there was at the other one. To be quite frank, it
Yeah.
does a lot more. And actually, when I went to the parking company, so I had to deal with. They enhanced their internet. They upgraded their internet and brought in the people to do that. And we had to manage software systems and things. And I remember one of the managers complimented me because I was kind of the front man for talking to the IT people,
Yeah.
coordinating that with the people who managed the building, like the Thanksgiving Tower, right?
Yeah.
And he was just kind of impressed at the way I was able to get in there and grasp and some of the technical stuff and use the lingo and just kind of coordinate it. And I was just thinking, well, I thanked him for the compliment. And I said, well, it's because of my last job. I said, it's because of the experience I had from my last job.
Yeah.
That's why I was able to get in there and do it, so.
Yeah. So again, you're working at this parking thing.
Mhm.
It seems like you have a boss that's pretty complimentary of you. It seems like you're
Yeah.
having some success. How do you find point of rental?
Well, I quit parking.
Okay, so you were done with the parking at that
Well,
time.
I did something that's probably not well. So I was managing 4 locations.
Mhm.
I was always on the run. I was. I feel that personally, they wanted too much out of me. They wanted
Yeah.
me to do like the job, which is pretty consistent with a lot of managerial
Yeah.
positions, right? But I felt that they, wanted me to do too much for too little.
Yeah.
That was one of the beefs I had. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about ex-employers, but
That's okay.
we can cut this out the video.
Everyone's familiar with the general concept of like asking too much. I'm only one man. Come on now.
I'm only one person.
Yeah.
I might need an assistant.
Yeah.
I may need an assistant manager.
Yeah.
Like to help me with some of this stuff. And I did ask for some of that. But Also, it's a very interesting industry. You're the front level in a parking garage, like a hotel. There's a lot that happens in a parking garage. There's crimes that happen. I'm taking money,
Yeah.
thousands of dollars out of these machines. I'm putting them in a hopefully unconspicuous
Yeah.
bag, and I'm walking around downtown sections of Dallas with a big bag full of money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And there's that type of element to it. There's other interesting elements, like I come in and there's a wire hanging down where people drive that's live, so I got to go cordon it off. One time, I don't know how this happened, but in one of the buildings in downtown a 6-story air conditioner system, right,
Mhm.
that runs through the thing, and somehow it was locked. We don't know how the person got in there, but they took an axe and put an axe into the air, and it leaked this fluid down, like 6 levels to the bottom floor, and it all had to be cordoned off. And the fire truck came, and hazmat came, and then it was in the Telemundo building, so the news, they were running a news story on it and all that fun stuff. So there's that. Working in a cubicle doesn't have all of that type of element.
It sounds real appealing after
Yeah,
that.
it may not be as exciting.
Yeah. You were good with that? So, but like, how specifically did you find point of rental? Like,
I found it at a job fair.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I've never had anything come out of a job fair. I'd go to the job fair, I'd talk about the jobs, but usually it's nothing that really pans out.
Yeah.
But so I walked around the job fair, I had my suit on, I had my fresh haircut, I was looking up.
As one does when going
As
to a
one
job
does. I was cleanly shaven.
Yeah.
And I saw the sign, point of rental software. I said, oh, okay, I have some experience doing this, so let me go in there. So I went in there, and I saw Frances Ellison, who's newly returned.
Yeah.
And she was selling me on the company.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about the retirement, it's a great place to work. And she sold the company very well. And I went and took the test, and they called me, and I ended up getting the job. So I got it from a job fair.
Awesome.
Just on a whim. I needed a job. Went to a job fair, and that's how I got the job.
Well, it's nice to know that occasionally a job fair does work, and you do get a job out of it.
It does.
Okay, so you started off. No one really starts off as a tier 2 software support technician. So you started off as a tier 1, and basically, at what point do you become a tier 2? Like, is there like a specific
There's not
requirement level, or is it just like Steve seems like he knows stuff now?
Yeah, it's just when you get there, and for some people, it comes sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just when they feel you're ready, that's when you're going to go.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, it's the way I look at it. It's not a race.
Yeah.
I'm happy I was picked for the role, and I'm happy I'm there. But I don't know what management's, if they have a list of hard qualifications or something like that. But everyone they've selected so far, I thought's been good for the role. So it seems like they know what they're doing.
Good. All right. Maybe I'll ask support if they have. I'll ask the leadership.
Yeah.
What is it that you like about working at Point of Rental / like your role in particular?
Well, I'm with the Premier team.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
Well, it's some of our largest customers,
Mm-hmm.
most important customers. So on the Premier team, we have a set group of customers, and we only take cases from those customers.
Okay.
So I like building and maintaining relationships with those customers is what I like the most. And I have built and maintained some good relationships, and I'm continuing to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that helps out, and I see a lot of the like customer support survey, some of the feedbacks, and you get a lot of people that say nice things, and it's usually Steve was great as always, and all that kind of thing. It's like, it seems like you are actually building these connections, and
it's true. And we see it with, of course, we see it with some tier 1s too. So some tier 1s are killing it almost. Well, that's why we have a high CSAT score, I believe, 90 in Premier, like between 90 and 92% historically, maybe 91, 92. But I believe it's because we're dealing with the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
And we're giving them quality service, right? and we're building that relationship. If they were just getting different people on every phone call, it might not be as high. But so I think that's the key there.
All right.
But
before we get into the other thing,
sure,
let's play a game called Goff or Gone.
Sure.
Since anyway, if you agree with the statement, say Goff, and if you disagree, say Gone, and then I'm going to need a reason. So Goff or Gone, you've cried recently while watching a movie. I switched one out on you.
Not recently.
Not recently?
Recently. Is
there a type of movie that will get you every time?
I have to think about that one. I thought Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was a real kind of tearjerker.
Yeah, that one can hit.
And I thought it was an amazing performance by Jim Carrey too. So
okay, well I'll let Jim know when we hang out.
Yeah, let him know. Next time you see him, just let him know. Steve says good job on that role.
Yep. I'll let you know what he says.
Yeah.
Goff or Gone, you've cheated at a board game.
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Okay. You take your board games very seriously.
I take my board games very seriously. Yeah. I take my victories very seriously. Therefore, I don't want them diminished by any sort of cheating on my part. Yeah.
Okay. Goff or Gone, you've told an outrageous lie to a child.
Goff.
Okay. What's your best lie that you've told a kid?
Probably has something to do with Santa Claus.
Okay.
Does that count?
All lies count.
Yeah. That's a pretty outrageous one if you really think about it. So
that's true. Okay. Goff or Gone, your favorite fast food fries are from McDonald's.
Yes. Goff.
I was going to say Goff. Come on. It's Goff or Gone.
Is there any other fast food chain that has good French fries?
I mean, I think that I like lots of French fries. I like crinkle cut. I like regular cut. I like every kind of French fries you can throw at me.
Who's the people who make the little thin, crunchy French fries? Is that?
I want to say Smashburger has some.
Smashburger. Yeah. I kind of like their fries.
Yeah, those are.
But nobody beats McDonald's, man. McDonald's is like the gold standard for French fries, and they'll always be the gold standard for French fries.
And again, McDonald's, please sponsor.
So next time you see Ray Kroc or whoever that guy or whoever owns it, next time you see him and Jim Carrey, if they happen to be in the same place at the same time, you can let them know at the same time.
Yeah, that would be really convenient. Goff or Gone, you have an embarrassing nickname or a nickname that you hate.
Goff.
Okay, what is this nickname?
I'm gonna throw it out there.
Okay, I promise I won't call you.
I have a nickname of Stevie G when I go back home.
Okay,
Stevie G. So I don't mind that one. And I think there was some artist at one time named Stevie G. He made like 80s techno or something.
Okay.
But it's Pimp Juice.
Why?
Okay, I'm saying this here for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
So me and a group of people, Jeremy, Paul Elling was there. We went to Deep Ellum one time.
Okay.
And we were out like just hanging out on Deep Ellum on the side, like waiting for our food or something. And I was standing on a quarter. I didn't know it. And there was a homeless guy. And he was like, "Hey boss, you standing on my quarter?" And I looked down. I was standing on a quarter. And so I bent down and I picked it up. I was like, "Well, this quarter?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, come and get it." And he came and got the quarter. I gave him the quarter. And he just started kind of telling us some poetry. And we were listening. It's pretty good poetry, actually. And then he gave us all a nickname. So I can't remember what Jeremy was. Paul's was like, what was this? Tony Montana. Paul was, and I was Pimp Juice. Well, ever since that day, that's what everyone in support was referring to me as.
Okay, so if I ever hear that name.
Well, here's the thing. One of my coworkers thought it would be funny to go on Workplace and change my name for when people reply to me.
Yes. Yeah.
To Pimp Juice. So I asked them to change it back eventually, which they did. But in certain scenarios, maybe like when someone was on a cell phone or something like that, it would show Pimp Juice. And now that we're moving to Slack, maybe that won't be an issue. But so I have this fear that like one day they'll be like considering me for a promotion or something,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, what about that Steve Goff guy?" And then like like they say, "Well, isn't that guy who goes by the nickname of Pimp Juice?"
Mm.
So I just wanted to throw it out there that I don't personally endorse this nickname.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a break real quick and move on to the next section.
At first, I was excited that people really started noticing me.
Looking good, Scotty.
Hey, Scott, where'd you get that shirt?
That shirt? Jeez! Hey, you been working out?
But now it's hard to not feel like a piece of meat sometimes. Yeah, no, so I'm just working on this like profiles things for Salesforce, and like I just don't know. But dude, come on, my eyes are up here. The shirt is really nice though. I just wish people would stop obsessing over it. Hey, come on, man, not you too. All right, this interview's over.
Let's do every question has to be a snap type answer. You got 15 seconds to answer everything. All right. You mentioned that you dropped out of high school and got a GED earlier.
Yes.
When I ask people for fun facts about themselves, they do not usually bring that up.
Mm.
So why'd you make that decision initially?
Well, I never found school very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't understand the value of education at that time.
Okay. Why did you include that in your list, knowing that it's setting up a question of like, why'd you do that?
That's part of my unique experience, and it's not something that I shy away from. If people ask me that, I think it makes for an interesting story.
Yeah.
Especially since I could have let that limit me or whatnot, but I decided not to let it limit me. So.
All right. You also mentioned that you got paid to get a haircut. Was this because someone you know was just so tired of your hair, or how did that work?
No, I saw an ad that said they'd pay us like a couple $100 to cut our hair on a video for I guess for local haircutting studios, right? Mm-hmm. So I was ready to get rid of it, and I was ready to make a couple $100.
Yeah.
And I went down there and cut my hair, and they tried to give me $100, and I was like, oh, that ad said $200.
Yeah.
So he begrudgingly, however you say that, gave me the extra $100 bill.
Nice. Yeah, I do remember you having much longer hair, and I saw you come in, and I was like, wow.
I was trying to grow it out again, but it appears that it has gotten a lot thinner.
Yeah, I have that situation as well. That's why
I just said, you know what, we're going with short hair from now on.
Yeah, it's like I can never do a buzz cut again because it's like, oh God, it's not gonna all come back. All right. Sorry, I forgot that I have to remove one of these. You mentioned that you almost got hired for a job in Alaska. How close were you to taking this Alaska job?
One other person beat me.
Okay.
It was between me and another guy. Okay, and they flew me out there to go do the interview. They paid for the flight, the hotel, so I was very close to getting the job. In the end, they stuck with the guy that was local, because one of the things they were telling me, they did tell me, we wanted to interview you because of your experience, my experience in the parking industry.
Yeah.
But there's people who move there, think they can hack it, but once the winter hits and the dark days and even the sun, lots of sunlight, they end up getting depressed and having a hard time hacking it. And I think that influenced their decision. They went with the safe choice.
Yeah.
But I was gung ho, man.
I was going to say, it probably worked out better for you too, because
yeah,
sticking through a bunch of dark days.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to live in Alaska, man. It's like a bucket list thing of mine.
Oh, okay. Well,
to live there.
Hey, you can work remotely. You have that as an option.
I can.
All right.
Cost of living is a little high there, though.
That's true. Tell me about the adjustable necklaces you make, and let's see if we can sell any of those here today.
I thought about bringing them into the office. Oh. They're just nylon thread that I make an adjustable knot out of, and I attach. Well, right now it's imitation crystals, and I'm planning on selling them for about $5 or $6 a piece. But I did just get some shells, and I'm gonna start. I've just bought a Dremel, and I'm gonna start when I have the time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start getting stones, and I'm probably gonna use leather cord, and I'm gonna make handmade leather stone jewelry is what I'm planning on doing. So,
Okay.
I was considering going the online route. I may just do farmers markets locally, but if I can find out how to sell some here, I would be open to it.
All right.
Swag store, look out.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll get to the 5 important questions.
5 important questions. 5 important questions. 5 important questions.
Let's do the 5 important questions.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, what would you say is your greatest success in life?
I think I'm still relatively young, and I think that my greatest successes are yet to be written.
Okay, that's the second time I've heard that.
I thought that was original.
I know it's so good, and it would have been so good if I hadn't just heard it from.
Okay, I would say my greatest success is going back to school after dropping out and getting a GED and earning a college degree.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
my greatest success, and and making dean's lists and things like that. I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah, going back and finishing what you started. I like it.
As a non-traditional student, yes.
Yeah,
that's all about that. There not being a time limit on anything, right?
Yep.
It's not a race. So,
all right. Number 2, what's your greatest fear?
Spiders.
Is there a particular spider or no?
Yes, brown recluse. You want to know why?
Why?
Well, I live in the Ozarks now.
Yeah.
And the good thing is we don't have cockroaches. I think in Texas you guys call them water bugs.
I don't call them that.
Big flying brown things.
Yeah,
I call them cockroaches.
They're gross. Yeah.
We don't have them in the Ozarks. But what we do have are brown recluses, and I had an infestation last spring.
Oh, God.
It's okay, though. I got the exterminators out, and then I had some gaps in my floorboards. I caulked them all. And as long as I bring the exterminators out every quarter, and I spray the eaves and stuff like that,
yeah.
Now that I have my floorboards caulked, I don't see them anymore.
Good.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. All right. If you could tell first day at Point of Rental Steve one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
Take a deep breath and relax. It's okay.
Okay, that kind of seems to fit in with the rest of your time. You can take your time on things.
Well, it's as a tier 1, just learning this stuff, you can kind of feel like you're in over your heads at times. You can get stressed out, and customers come, they're coming at you with all of these questions, man. Maybe some like in-depth account, and that customer may have 30 years of experience with the program.
Yeah.
And you may have 3 weeks.
Yep.
Things are a little different now, I think, with the way they handle the training, but it's very easy to become unhinged and let the stress get to you in that type of situation.
Yeah.
So you just gotta. I'm way, way better now than I used to be about just sit back, relax, and just go with the flow, man.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Okay. What is your most embarrassing moment as a pointer?
One time someone had a bag of peanuts on the counter,
mm-hmm.
and I thought it was community property, and I went and grabbed them and I started eating them.
Uh-huh.
And I put them, and I saw they grabbed them, and I was like, "Oh, are those your peanuts?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Thank
That's
you.
the only one I could think of. I couldn't think of anything.
I was going to say that one seems, in the moment, definitely embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I ran away. I ran out the room.
And then I just scurried. All right. Well,
Anytime
sorry.
anything embarrassing happened, that's what you just see me running away.
Okay.
So,
So I'm sorry, but you've been sentenced to death. Is now stealing someone's peanuts gets you the death penalty. So what's your last meal and why?
well, I have a unique answer, but since somebody already said my other unique answer, I have a feeling that it might not be as unique.
Okay. Well,
my answer was going to be if I was sentenced to death, I'm not sure if I could even eat.
ooh, okay.
I mean, who knows? Like that would be a very scary scenario. So I was going to say malto meal.
Okay. No one has said malto meal for sure.
Now, maybe am I overthinking this one? I think that's just another way of asking, what's your favorite meal?
Kind of.
So let's go that route, and I'll say shrimp thermidor
Okay.
with red velvet cake as dessert,
Okay.
and maybe a side of Watergate salad.
Okay. Any beverages or desserts?
Yeah.
You already had a red velvet.
I had my
cake.
dessert.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Watergate salad is a dessert too.
Oh, okay. Right.
I would take a craft beer.
Okay.
Yeah,
That seems like a good way to go out.
craft beer.
Okay. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I wouldn't change anything about myself.
Okay.
My flaws, my weaknesses, my shortcomings, and my strengths all make up the individual person who I am. They make me up as an individual, and they craft my experience here.
Okay.
And I learned lessons from those things. So even if those lessons are tough at times.
Yes.
So I wouldn't change. Am I overthinking the question again?
Very, very philosophical. I'll allow you to not change anything.
If you would have asked me that 5 years ago, maybe I would have said, well, I'd like to be more outgoing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'd say I'd like to be 6'2".
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything about myself at this point.
Well, good. If you could change one thing about point of rental, what would it be? This is like a genie situation where it's like it happens immediately.
I'd put us in a high rise with a good view.
Okay. You could find someone else with to manage the parking, and then you get to be in the high rise.
Yeah, I give the orders to the parking people now. So.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
PhDs who insist that they must be addressed as doctor because they worked very hard for it. I'm talking about when I'm just talking to them on the street, right?
Yeah.
Now, if they're in a professional setting, then I'll probably call them doctor.
Yeah.
I find that to be a tad bit pretentious.
I like the idea of you going to an actual doctor and be like, no, I'm not calling you doctor.
Oh, I do that all. No.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the medical, when I'm go to the doctor, I call them doctor.
Yeah.
I feel they're due that title.
I feel like it would be actually worse to insist on calling them by their name. I want them to feel like doctor when they're instead of like, hey, Bob.
And really, it doesn't really bug me.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a quirky type of answer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I'll give you another one.
Okay. What's an actual pet peeve? Something
People
really
who ride my tail.
Yeah.
When I am going the speed limit, or maybe even a little above the speed limit. I mean, do you really want a ticket that bad?
Yeah.
You really want me to let you over so you can move on to get? But I don't like it when people tailgate me. It really irks me.
Yeah, I could see that being pretty annoying.
Yeah.
Tell me a secret about point of rental. I mean, I guess I already learned one that you're pimp juice.
There's one. I have a nickname that isn't all that great. Well, I guess some people might think it is, but I don't. Okay, here's one that's kind of weird. In an alternate universe, we're not point of rental.
Okay.
Philosophical on you.
What are we in this alternate universe?
We're a fast food chain.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve, for chatting today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you also to Andrew Sherrington and Daria Tucker for their work behind the scenes on this. Please rate, subscribe, review, share this with a friend. Do whatever you can so we can keep talking to people like Steve, and we'll keep the porch light burning for you. Thanks for joining us.